Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Pierson, the CEO and founder of BlackCloak, the pioneer of digital executive protection. Today I'm joined by Madison Horn. At WWT, she serves as the Chief Advisor for the National Security and Critical Infrastructure Practice. Madison, it's great to see you today.
Yeah, likewise. Pumped for the conversation.
I know. This is going to be fun. We've been talking about, so much so, we've been talking about the controls for the inside four walls of the company. We've been talking about protecting executives. As you and I were talking about some recent topics in the news, we are thinking, how else does it make sense to approach the topic, and doing so from the level of the board? You know, as you and I both know, the board of directors, they serve sometimes on 2 to 3 different publicly traded companies. They have all the information that they need, want, or if they ask for it, that they get. And they just present a really, really big attack surface back into the company because, let's face it, they're on their personal email addresses. Yes, they do have the right board books and all the rest, but information is being bandied about left and right, and text messages and all the rest. How does WWT and how do you think about this area of protection that is needed for board members?
Sure. I thought you said we're having fun, man. This is like doomsday stuff a little bit. I'm just kidding. We're not even there yet. So at WWT, as you know, you're highly engaged with our field CISO team and our advocacy team. The purpose of the foundation of our team really was to play that liaison between our C-suite, our directors, the folks who are hands-on in cyber, and translate that to our board. And for our board to fully understand their full risk posture and just like what their exposures are. The unfortunate reality is we're living in a world where not everybody thinks cyber is sexy and cool. It's just us nerds.
I was about to say, it's definitely, we have two of us here. Yeah, we have 2 of us here, and we definitely think so.
We definitely
yes.
do. Glad that they didn't hear our nerd talk before this. But, and it really shouldn't be the board's role every single day. It is the responsibility of us nerds in cyber to really be that translator, but also to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. board member, this is the risk that also you pose to our organization as just being involved. And it's not necessarily your responsibility to think about this, but at the same time, we need you to have a heightened sense of awareness. But what are also the other levels of controls that we can put in place to ensure that you're not providing additional exposure to the organization, whether that be through phishing campaigns or the amount of information that is out there on a specific board member? I mean, to your point, some of these board members sit on 2 or 3 or 4 boards. And so when you think about how ripe of a target a specific individual is, I mean, man, if we know that there's not a lot of controls there and we know hackers are lazy, man, I would go after a board member. I would look at their entire family profile. I'd really think about what type of information I could get to gain access to that one member because, man, the information they have access to, ripe. Right.
And that's funny. I've served both as a chief privacy officer, as a chief information security officer. I actually was also a general counsel, and it's, what the board asks, they shall get. But we've given them given them private email addresses for the company. They didn't use it, right? They defaulted back to their Gmail. And if you give them a special email address, they default back to texting back and forth. Right. It really is one of those big attack surfaces that I think, oftentimes just goes unnoticed. What are maybe 1 or 2 special things that WWT is doing as you think about how to better educate, better inform the boards?
I mean, I hate to make it so simple because, I think we always default, training and awareness. But when we think about the profile of current board members, then there is a little bit of gap of digital literacy. And I'm not trying to be arrogant, nor am I trying to be insulting, but there are just some gaps of, what do they understand of, again, like the amount of information that is out there and how that could be useful, again, to gain access within the organization and or to use the information that they have access to perhaps put the organization in a negative light. And so when we go to our boards, then a lot of it, if we're talking about them as an executive and their risk profile, then it's really just kind of creating that logic mapping back and giving them perhaps against the kill chain, what does that mean? It's simple, but I'm being serious. And again, just kind of thinking about different types of use cases and the way that they could be leveraged to target the company.
I love that quote, right? Some gaps in digital literacy. I mean, it really does come down to that. It is all about the human. It is about the hardening the human, making sure they're more resilient to different privacy attacks, cybersecurity attacks. making sure that they, as an extension of the company, are resilient because they have and hold what cybercriminals and nation states want.
And it's a different type of thinking. I mean, when we think about protecting critical assets, you don't typically think about humans. But again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. If people are the weakest link, then why are we not defining humans within the organization and identifying across the entire org and the board as well, and or other advisory groups, deeming them as critical assets and hardening them, whether that be with their home networks, what their digital footprint looks like, the amount of information that they're putting out, and again, kind of, what the relationships within their immediate circles are, whether that be friends, families, pets. We'll have pets digital literacy. I'm just kidding.
Coming soon.
Da-da-da. And so, anyways, I think that's a huge role that we play in just a level of awareness as an organization.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, the digital attack surface continues to expand. And if you are a chief information security officer, chief security officer, if you are at a large corporation, you have to think about what risk level does the board afford your company? How are you going to go ahead and mitigate those risks? Madison Horn, thank you so much for being here with us today. Folks, that was Madison Horn, the Chief Advisor of National Security and Critical Infrastructure for WWT. And I'm Chris Pierson from BlackCloak. We hope that you'll learn more information by going to blackcloak.io.